Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey, the show that dives into the science of higher consciousness with inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. Join Todd, Jackie, and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. It's all right here with stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Now, here's your hosts, Todd and Jackie.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you already know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. A, it's Life Mastery Radio Day, and B, when I get up in the morning, I already decide the day's going to be groovy, and I take off into my day, and it turns out pretty groovy. Try it. You'll like it. It'll work for you, too. All you got to do is make a decision before your feet hit the ground. Welcome to Life Mastery Radio, the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. We always have some great guests on the cutting edge of their own becoming, shoving you off the edge of your own becoming with their great thoughts and ideas. So we have many shows. We have many shows on YouTube. Check us out. We have topics on just about everything, don't we, Jackie? Here's my co-host, Jackie Bailey, as always.
Hi. Yeah, it's wonderful that we have this very large range of different kinds of guests, and it's exciting because they all add their brilliance to what we're doing, and you never know what you're going to get. It's like Forrest Gump said, life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, Life Mastery Radio with Todd and Jackie is like that too. You never know what the next guest is going to bring. So.
You know that's my favorite movie, and you know why?
Is it? Why?
Because he has no ego. He has absolutely no ego, and he is so successful mostly because of it, I think. Just he just goes on and does stuff. That's it. And he's not driven by a showman or any kind of showmanship. It's there and he does it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I never thought of that before. Good lesson. Lessons by Todd.
Well, I know a few things anyway. I want to remind people that today's show page is at www.lifemasterradio.net or .com. Either one will get you there, and we have a link to our guest. You're definitely going to want to, if you're a parent or you know somebody who's a parent, or if you're a grandparent, you're probably going to want to check out more of her material or even connect with her. She's a great coach, and she's not only a parenting coach. We might have to get into that. She does all kinds of things. EFT, tapping. That's pretty cool. I think we've done a couple shows on that, Jackie, and many other things. So without further ado, there's a cat.
And she's got a cat.
My cat was just here too.
Oh, you cat people.
You know what, Jackie? I forgot to check in with you in the Speak Feed Lead project. Anything cooking? Anything you want to talk to us about? You got lots of things going and
lots of things cooking. We've got clubs and programs and projects now for our youth. We've kind of changed things around a little bit, and we're not going to so much have courses to start with, but we're bringing everybody into the club. And from the club there, then the kids can decide, do they want to do more? Maybe they want to do their own podcasts or speak on summits, and they can move up to different collaborative projects depending upon what they want to do. So it's getting really exciting, and we're working a lot with kids from everywhere, and they're getting more and more excited. So yay!
I was going to ask you because I've noticed there is more and more advertising, and I notice it more, and homeschooling is becoming a big deal. Are you seeing that same thing? Because you're kind of on the edge of the homeschooling front, right?
Yep. I belong to 49 of the 50 state homeschool groups on Facebook. And so I see every day at least 4 or 5 more families coming into just one state page and going, we're new to this, we've decided to homeschool, what do we do? So parents are deciding that's the best for their family all the time. And I don't know where it's going to lead, but it's nice that kids
There's
are
a
going to be
choice.
spending more time with their families. I think that's been something that's been missing for a long time, and those
Yeah.
relationships have gone awry. And I think it's a great option for
I bet
families to learn from each other.
I bet our guest has something to say about that today
I
too.
bet
So
she
why don't
does.
you go ahead and introduce her, and we'll get this show on the road.
Yes, our guest today is Murielle Fellous. She was originally born and raised in France. She lived here in the U.S. in Las Vegas, Nevada for a while, and now she is in Israel. And so she's got a lot of experience in lots of different places. And because of life challenges she personally underwent as a single parent, she has begun many programs for parents. And right now she does a weekly podcast called Co-Parenting with the Universe. I was lucky enough to be a guest on her podcast not too long ago, so it's nice to have her here today. As an intuitive life coach as well, Murielle is helping single moms prevent the downward spiraling, often into fear, overwhelm, guilt, powerlessness, or circumstantial depression, as well as she's teaching them how to access their inner resources and reconnect to their true power to co-create and co-parent with the universe. A big portion of Murielle's work is based around emotional mastery and energy alignment through a mind and body spirit approach. So she comes at parenting from a lot of different angles, and I'm excited and delighted to have Murielle Fellous with us today. Hi, Murielle.
Hi, Jackie. I'm delighted to be here. I'm really excited. We had a very nice conversation in my podcast with what you're doing. And now I don't know what's coming, but I know it's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe we should continue this conversation just a little bit. Are you seeing an increase in homeschooling? I mean, it's getting more and more popular, I think, in the United States. But what about Israel? Is that something they do?
Not so much. No. It's the school system is a little bit different here, and I don't see a lot of kids who are homeschooled. I know that when I was in the US, my kids were in the high school where they were in public school, and it became more and more stressful for many reasons. And I considered it a little bit, but I'm not equipped. I'm not equipped as a mom to do that. You have to be very talented.
Yeah. I think a lot of parents feel that way, though, but I wonder if it's true that they're not equipped. They probably feel, I think that a lot of schools are telling people that you've got to have a degree, you have to have a teaching certificate if you really want to be able to teach your kids. I don't know. Is that true or not? What do you think, Murielle?
For me, it was more a matter of being an immigrant. I felt that I didn't have what it takes to start with English, for example, because it's a language for me. So I didn't want my kids to be somehow penalized because English wasn't my first language. And I guess if you really want something, it's like anything else. You can do anything when you put your mind to it and when you really want it. For someone who really wants it and they feel, my approach is you feel within what's the best for your kid. We have an inner guidance and you follow that inner guidance because that won't lead you wrong. Of course, you have to put the effort and you have to, if you have to learn something, maybe go and take a class to refresh. But if you feel that you can do it, then you're equipped. I just didn't want that aspect of English being my second language be a problem.
Well, that kind of gets us into our topic for today's show, and that's, co-parenting with the universe. Now, that's a big, broad statement, co-parenting with the universe. Can you break that down for us just a little bit and give us a good idea of what that entails or what that means or how that looks? I guess all of those.
So I'm going to start by saying that I was forced into it because I was very strong on control. I wouldn't say I was a control freak, but I was probably close to that. I liked knowing what would happen, especially if we're talking about my kids. And I was trying to control everything. I was trying to protect them 24/7 wherever they were. And of course, as you know, that does not work. You don't control anyone. First of all, let's take that illusion out of the way. And that led me to depression, literally. What I was supposed to do is, because, so to give you some background story, my teenagers, two of my teenagers, because I raised three kids, started acting out. And they were acting out in ways that could have been very dangerous, if not fatal, because they were going to parties, exploring a little bit too much. And I was living in anxiety every time they were out. I used to wake up in the middle of the night with palpitations, very strong anxiety 24/7. So that's something that you cannot sustain. You cannot live like that. And like I said, it really spiraled me into depression without realizing. So when I got to a point where I was so low that I wished I would disappear, I felt that it was too much for me. Like it was too much. I didn't have what it takes. And I have been always meditating. Like, I think I've been meditating. My daughter, my oldest, is 26, so probably 22 years meditator.
Good for you.
Yeah, that did not help me enough. And I remember that connection with the universe, with a higher power. And I asked for help. And the first thing that happened was for me to realize that I didn't even admit to myself that I didn't like my life, because in my mind, it meant that I didn't love my kids. I had healthy kids. I had a job. Everything was quote unquote normal, but I didn't like my life because there was too much anxiety. It was too hard. So I couldn't admit that to myself. And I remember one night waking up in tears because I finally lifted the self-judgment to be able to see clearly where I was, because you cannot change if you don't see where you are. Yeah. So I started crying and crying. And I realized that we are walking paradoxes as human beings. On one side, I didn't like my life. And on the other side, I love my kids, and both were true. And I wasn't a horrible mom for feeling like that. From that point on, I started using tapping in the middle of the night, literally EFT, to calm myself down to a point, because when you're in fear, you cannot cooperate with the universe. You cannot co-create with any higher power because you're into emotions that are too low. And what you're aligning with is only fear, anxiety, hopelessness, etc. So I had to use tapping to calm myself down to a neutral point in the middle of the night, literally, and start asking for help and stay open. And it started with realizing that if I was meant to lose a kid, because I don't know if they were doing things, whatever they were doing was dangerous, I didn't have enough power to prevent that. If that was my destiny, that's something there was no point allocating any energy or inner resources to that, because that was not in my control. So I started surrendering that area of powerlessness in my life to a higher power that until then had protected me, protected my kids, and trust that if I was in a situation of losing a kid one day, then life would give me the tools. But there was no point in weakening myself with those kind of thoughts. And that already made such a huge change because I could finally breathe. It didn't hold my whole life hostage, that fear. And then I focused on the area where I had power, which was emotional self-regulation. Because when we are in fear, when we are in anxiety, when we worry, our brain does not function normally. Our frontal cortex, the analytic part of our brain that gives us a way to find solutions and imagination, it doesn't receive the same blood flow and you cannot think clearly. So by using a lot of tapping and a lot of mindfulness tools, I calmed myself down and I was able to see more clearly and ask what is the next step. Of course, there are many, many facets to that, and you have to examine your thoughts, your inner dialogue, what you're telling yourself 24/7. But in a nutshell, co-parenting with the universe is about emotionally be aligned with at least neutral emotions or hopeful or higher, with a vibration that is higher than fear and worry, and start asking yourself, life, your higher power, what's the next step? And to stay flexible, because you don't know how it's going to come to you. I have an anecdote of when my son was 13, he was skipping school, he was getting in trouble, and I thought about getting him a positive role model for as a male, because his father wasn't in the picture. And I registered him with Big Sisters Big Brothers, that organization that matches adult volunteers with kids. And they told me, he's 13, people want younger kids. We have very little hope that we would find a match. I said, put him in your database anyway. We never know. Two years later, he was now 15 and getting even more in trouble. And I was applying what I teach now. I was calming down. I remember I was working in an office, and I went for lunch and I meditated and tapped, and I said, okay, what am I supposed to do? Because I really didn't know what to do. Show me. And 2 hours later, I got a phone call from Big Brothers, Big Sisters to tell me that he had a match, and he was now 15. And that's someone that literally stayed in contact with him until we left the country, like 3 years, 2-3 years later. And I wouldn't say it saved him, but it helped him so much. So I didn't know how it would come. I just asked, what's the next step? And I got a phone call. I said, okay, that's my answer. We're going to go with that. And that's what I do and teach. Every time we need an answer, stay open. It can be a book, it can be a person, it can be something. Stay open and flexible, and something will come. So that's the way it works.
That's the way the universe works. And that's it almost sounds like you went through the first 3 steps of the 12-step program to come to that realization, right?
Yes.
I mean, you gave up, you turned your will and your life over, and you move forward. And that's kind of the first 3 steps in the 12-step program. And they work for you, right?
I don't know the whole 12 steps, but I've heard a lot about the program, and it's an amazing program.
Well, you did a really great job just describing, even in some ways defining, what it feels like to be a mother that wants the best for her kids and starts to have all these emotions because all of the responsibility then goes on her shoulders. I don't know why we as mothers do that, but we tend to do that. We feel like, if I'm going to be successful, if my kids are going to be successful, then it's all up to me. And we lay all of this burden on ourselves, and then we feel guilty because we're not doing everything for everybody that we think we're supposed to be doing. And so you really laid that out well. And then when you say the best step to take is stop worrying about all that, and just, it sounds like you had to find a little bit more about yourself. So can you go a little bit deeper into that? And I'd really like to know a little bit more about the tapping as well. What does that look like, and what are the results that you saw from that? But how do we change that in ourselves to go from this worried person to say, all right, my kids are going to be my kids. I'm just helping them prepare for the next step of their life, but it's really their choices, right? I'm here to guide them. And also, by putting your son into this other program, you were willing to let go that maybe you weren't the only person that could do everything for them, right? I think that's another important part of the process.
Help me.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay to get help as a parent. So tell us a little bit more about your, what was it like for you then to just be able to release that, all that control through this tapping process, and what was that like for you, and how did, show us a little bit, maybe if you can demonstrate a little bit what that is.
Of course, I can even do like 2 rounds, let's say, because to let go of that worry, when you're that triggered, you can't use thought to change your thoughts. It doesn't work. You have to go through the body and through your nervous system. And for people who are new to tapping, maybe tapping is a combination of ancient wisdom, because it uses the meridians that they use in acupuncture, and it's acupressure. You push on certain points of the meridians to calm your nervous system down, and you also add some elements of psychology, because you add some elements of exposure. You talk about your problem, and cognitive behavior therapy. And when you mix all that, what you're doing is, while you're calming your nervous system with the acupressure, with the tapping, you're talking and focusing on the problem, and you're sending a message to your brain, to the stress center of the brain, the amygdala, which is the center that triggers the fight, flight, or freeze reaction. And that's really where we are, when we are so anxious about the problems that we have with a kid or with someone in life or anything. And as we're calming our body down, sending the message, it's okay, we're safe, we're talking about the problem. And what happens is, we are breaking the neuro association that there was between that problem and let's say, the anxiety. There was an association between the problem and anxiety that was the usual response. We are breaking that association with the message through tapping that we're safe. So we start relaxing. And like I mentioned, when we are in a state of fight or flight or freeze, the brain doesn't function normally. Because we are relaxing, the brain starts to function better. We are clearer. We have more resourcefulness. We feel better. And we start telling ourselves better, I would say, affirmations, because we always do affirmations in our mind, whether positive or negative, all day long. Like when we think, oh my God, I was telling myself 24/7, I don't have what it takes. What does it create? It creates someone who is not able to access her inner resources, because I blocked myself from that. I affirmed that I don't have what it takes. The brain is, I would say, a matchmaker. There is a part of the brain called the reticular activating system that is in charge. One of its tasks is to bring coherence between your inner world, so I don't have what it takes, and what you see outside. So in fact, you prove yourself right, whether it's good or bad. Whatever you believe, you will see proof outside. So tapping breaks all that. It intercepts the reaction in your brain, and it calms you down. And then you're in a state where you can finally breathe. Because what happened after all that, after a bounce back from depression, I had something even more serious happening. One of my teen tried to kill, one of my kids tried to kill themselves. And I was so changed by the experience that I had before, that even when they were in a psychiatric hospital for a week, I had moments where I thought about it, of course, but the rest of my day was not completely affected by that, because I was able to intercept, and not to go in a loop of negativity. So that's what I'm doing. What I would like to do, with your permission, if you want me to demonstrate, is to give people a way to do it on themselves. Yeah. So, and if you want, we can do it with you if you're open to it, or I can do it. You can pick a problem, and it doesn't have to be a big problem, and you don't even have to say what it is if you don't want to. We're going to call it my problem. So
okay.
I don't know, because I don't want to put you on the spot.
Right.
And focus on that problem, something that is usually triggering to you. And some people, it's, I don't have enough time during my day, whatever it is, that it's disturbing. And once you're connected to that problem, feel how it translates into your body. What are the sensations? Where do you feel that? And what emotion do you feel? When you're there, just tell me, and people who are listening or watching can do the same. Put your hands on your heart center and connect with yourself and your problem, and see what you feel and where it falls in your body. And on a level of 0 to 10, like 0 being I don't feel anything, and 10 it's overwhelming, the best situation to try tapping is when you're at 5 or higher. So some people may have to pause the episode and grab something if they listen on replay, or
I got something.
you have something. Where does it fall in your body? What is there a sensation in your body when you think about that triggering issue?
It's definitely in my chest or my heart area.
Okay. So we're going to do it very simple, because for the sake of the episode, we don't have a lot of time. What we're going to do is, what number are you, first of all? I didn't ask you, between 0 to 10.
I'm probably a 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So take note of that number. And now you can open your eyes, and you're going to take 4 fingers of one hand, and you're going to tap on the side of the other hand, which is called the karate chop, between the pinky and the wrist. Take the
Okay,
other
so
hand.
right here?
Yes, right here. And with the other hand, you're going to tap on your hand like that with the fingers. And we're going to do a sentence that we're going to repeat 3 times, and then we'll go through the other points. Even though I have that problem, so you can repeat after me. Even though I have that problem, if you want, you repeat out loud, it's better.
Okay. Even though I have that problem.
And I feel that sensation in my chest and in my heart.
And I feel that sensation in my chest and my heart.
I choose to accept myself completely as I am.
I choose to accept myself completely as I am.
Even though I have this sensation in my chest.
Even though I have this sensation in my chest.
And when I think about my problem.
When I think about my problem.
I choose to accept myself and how I feel right now.
I choose to accept myself and how I feel right now.
And one last time, even though I have this problem.
Even though I have this problem.
And it creates a sensation in my heart and in my chest.
And it creates a sensation in my heart and in my chest.
I choose to completely accept myself and how I feel.
I choose to openly accept myself and how I feel.
And now tap on the top of the head, my problem, and think about your problem specifically. And now at the beginning of the eyebrow, on the bridge of the nose, my problem. And you can say my problem. And for people, they can say that
my problem.
You can be even more specific when you're doing that at home. You can say, my problem is my son, my problem is my boss, whatever. Side of the eye, you're going to go on the corner of the eye with your fingers. This sensation in my heart and chest.
Sensation in my heart and chest.
You're going to go under the eye on the bone. This sensation in my heart and chest.
The sensation in my heart and chest.
Under the nose, between nose and mouth. This problem that is disturbing me.
This problem that is disturbing me.
Under the mouth. This problem that's creating the sensation in my heart and chest.
This problem that's creating the sensation in my heart and my chest.
Under the collarbone, just here under the bone here in the soft part. I don't like feeling like this.
Don't like feeling like this.
Under the arm. This sensation in my chest and my heart.
The sensation in my chest and my heart.
And we go back on the top of the head. This sensation that is keeping me hostage.
The sensation that is keeping me hostage.
We'll go back on the eyebrow point. I wonder if I can let some go.
I wonder if I can let some go.
Side of the eye, or maybe let it go completely.
Or maybe let it go completely.
Under the nose, I am open to let some go or all of it.
I'm open to let some go or all of it.
Under the mouth, because it doesn't have to feel like that.
Because it doesn't have to feel like that.
Under the collarbone, it is safe to let it go.
It is safe to let it go.
Under the arm, it's safe to let go of this sensation in my heart and chest.
It's safe to let it go of this sensation in my heart and my chest.
And we're going to end on the side of the other hand. I now choose to let go of this sensation and any emotion as much as I can.
I now choose to let go of this sensation and any emotion as much as I can.
And now take a deep breath. And go back to thinking about your problem and see if anything changed on the sensation or the intensity, anything at all.
It's definitely a lower intensity.
What number would you give it now?
Yeah, I'd give it a 4, maybe 3 or 4.
So
Yeah.
it was very short, but
Mhm.
when you continue like that, you can get to a 0. And
Wow.
we can do that on anything. Of course, there are cases, like I do clinical tapping, so we go deep into PTSD and trauma, but for all the life problems that are not as serious, you can use tapping on yourself anytime, anywhere. I used to, when somebody was triggering me at work, or let's say a coworker or something, I was going to the bathroom and I was tapping and I was venting, and I was coming back to the conversation much calmer and neutral. And it's always better for relationships. It's also, it has a huge impact on your health, because as we know, stress is a big factor in disease. So tapping is really, now there are, I think, close to over 200 studies about tapping. And it's really a tool that is very effective to calm the nervous system, but also to rewire the brain. It will change the way you function in life. I know that I've been doing tapping for so many years that I get it's very difficult to offend me now. And, and sometimes people don't understand why I'm not offended, but I'm just not offended. I'm sorry. I know it's not personal.
Yeah. What was your result with it, Todd, when you were doing it? I'm sorry, I was probably taking charge because I was using my voice, but did you get anything out of that?
Yeah, I think I've been having issues with my throat and it's kind of sore. And so I noticed, like, from a 7 down to a 3 in irritation. And I was
Nice.
quite surprised. Yeah, it was quite a big difference.
Yeah, and that's what's funny, because as you know, I have, Jackie knows I have back problems. So I use tapping a lot for pain. And pain can be reduced up to 60% because there is a huge emotional aspect to pain. There is the story we tell ourselves about it, right, and we make it stronger.
It amplifies, right? It's there. Yes. We think about it. We give it more energy and we give it more thought power, and it intensifies. And through the tapping process, you break that cycle, right? That connection to it, and that loop that we create in our minds, it breaks it and stops it and decreases that feeling.
Yeah.
Is the sequence important? Is the sequence of the way that you do it, is that important?
It's very forgiving. So even if you make a mistake, that's okay. It's pretty easy. The more you do it, the more you know it. But if you skip a point or something, it's not the end of the world. I know people who don't like to do the underarm point, so they skip it all the way. I don't like skipping it, but it's it's pretty easy to learn. I mean, I know on my website I did a silent video with just the points, because people sometimes they want to tap on their issue and they don't remember the points. So if people are interested in using that, it's at liveeft.com, and it's just that, just the points. Because you don't want to be thinking about where do I have to tap. It takes
because that interrupts the flow. How much?
Right.
So as a regular practice, Murielle, how much time should a person spend on that?
So it depends. If you have a problem, you tap until you feel better. What I do for myself is I do affirmation tapping to like supercharge my
there we go.
supercharge my affirmations, so that there is nothing that comes in the way. And if by the way, when you do an affirmation, if you notice a thought coming back, yes, but da 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 da, write it down and tap on that until you no longer feel that it's true. And this can take 20 minutes because some beliefs are deeply anchored. And to change your beliefs, you may go to one belief, to another belief, to a childhood event that created that belief. So, it's very powerful, and you can go as deep as you want.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool. We've had people on the show before, Jackie. Do you remember? I can't remember their name.
That did tapping?
Yeah. Maybe that was before. Okay. Never mind. I've been doing this so long, it all kind of bleeds together.
Yeah.
Well,
Murielle, I think one of the most powerful things you said that I'm still sort of ruminating on a little bit is that if we have a deep-seated thought, we can't just stop it by trying to change a thought. I mean, that is exactly what meditation would teach us to do, is to try to have a different thought. But I recognize that as a big challenge I've had, is that I've been trying to replace certain thoughts with other thoughts, and that's not necessarily bad, but it hasn't given me the success that I would hope for. So this is huge.
And sometimes it takes repetition, because the brain learns with emotion and repetition. So if you're talking, for example, about changing a thought, when I first started with self-love affirmations, I was doing them, but they did not feel true at all. All my body was reacting. And it took about 30 days when something shifted. At, let's say, 3 weeks mark, I was like, that's a little bit, that's feeling a little bit true. Something is changing. But when you add tapping to that, which I didn't do at the time, it's even faster and faster.
So tell me how this has really elevated your ability to parent, or to feel better as a parent, and to let go of some of those challenges that come with parenting.
So when my kids were doing what they were doing, or actually even with school, because I had issues with two of my middle teenagers skipped school for 3 months before they told me about it, because she blocked the number in my cell phone, and the school did not call me at work for 3 months. Wow. So I got to a point where I had to change school for her and go with a hybrid school that was pre-COVID, half online and half in person, or 2/3 online. And I had thoughts like a lot of mothers have. Oh my God, that's her future is ruined. She will never have her high school diploma. What is she gonna do all her life? Those kinds of things. First, I've been training myself on becoming aware of my thoughts, because that's where it starts. And I stopped believing all my thoughts. They're just thoughts. They are not the truth. They're conditioning that we got, like you were saying at the beginning of the show. We think that we have to have this diploma and this diploma. It's not necessarily true. And I started questioning my thoughts. I'm thinking, is that really true 100% of the cases? And of course, no, it's not. So if it's not, then it's not the truth. If it's not the truth, who can I find, if we're talking, for example, about school, who can I find who's a success today who didn't go to school? And I know that one of my mentors at the beginning was Tony Robbins. I went to a lot of his events and retreats, and he didn't go to college. Oh. I worked for someone who was a billionaire, he's deceased now. He didn't go to college. So many people. So I'm like, of course, it makes it easier if you do things the easy way, but it doesn't mean anything. And by tapping and calming myself and saying, let go of the fear, surrender, let go of the fear, and research to see if you need to believe that or not. If it's not true at 100% of the case, do not allocate any energy to that thought. It's a waste of time. Right. Our most treasured currency is time and our thoughts, because those two things, time you cannot replace, and your thoughts, they create your reality. So beware of what you're thinking. And if you catch yourself being negative, celebrate. You're developing awareness. That's awesome.
I never thought about that.
So it sounds to me, Murielle, that tapping is a huge tool in your toolkit, but are there other things? There has to be, you must have a multitude of different things. Was there another one that helped you with parenting? I mean, letting go. And you're telling your story, and I'm thinking, gosh, if it wasn't for the Marine Corps, my mom probably would have had a heart attack.
Yes, I mentioned meditation, but not everybody likes to meditate. Visualization, imagining what you want, imagining your kid happy, older, successful, it doesn't matter in what, surrounded by people who love him or her and they love. And also love is an amazing power. When you go and need to have a talk with your teenager or anyone else, take a few minutes, concentrate on what you love about them, activate that vibration of love in your heart before you enter the room, because we send non-vocal messages to each other, energetical messages to each other. So when you come from love, you don't trigger a defensive reaction. And I always compare people to disco balls. We have many facets. What facet do you want to activate in the other? Activate it in yourself first, and then you will resonate. And even if they're not there, you will somehow either entrain them or inspire them, or at least you won't engage the toxic dance. Or I've done tango in my life, so I'm like, I'm not dancing this tango. And that changes everything. Don't dance.
It's called infection by proximity.
Yes.
But you hit on a good subject too, is, I learned that it's hard for me to give you a banana if I don't have a banana, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, I have to find some way to love myself before I can love others and infect them with that spontaneous type of love or that projection of love when I come to them. But if I don't have it in myself, it's pretty hard to give it away.
And that reminds me of something: forgiveness. Forgive yourself. When you forgive yourself, you're way more ready to forgive others. Don't be so harsh on yourself. I know that most of the time when I encounter people who are very aggressive, I always think, oh my God, if they do that outside, they must beat themselves up like crazy inside. And when you start being more compassionate with yourself, yes, I've made mistakes. And it's not about forgiving our mistakes and redoing them the next day. No, forgiving our mistakes and find a way to grow so that you don't do that next time. I remember my kids were, I don't know how old they were, probably I think my oldest was 8 or 10. And they disobeyed. I don't remember what they did. And I found myself so mad because I felt disrespected. And then I realized that I felt disrespected. Whatever I learned in my family of origin, if you disrespect me, you don't love me. So I was very hurt because I felt unloved and I overreacted. And I caught myself in the middle of my reaction. I was like, oh my God, I'm reacting like one of my parents. I was like, oh, no. I need to. So I worked on myself. One of the things that help parents a lot is you talked about self-love. Give yourself the love you need so you're not dependent on the outside, because it's not your kids' job to love you. It's your job to love them, but they're not here to show you that they love you. If you feel loved, if you give yourself that love, if you identify who loves you and really, really be grateful for that, you won't be in demand. And even if they react in a way that you don't like, you won't feel so hurt and you will not react with as much intensity as you would otherwise. Because it's like an animal when they have a wound. If you go help a wounded wolf, they're going to bite you because they're hurting. Yeah. So you attend to yourself, and that way you're easier to deal with too.
Another good way to anchor that is if you talk to your friends the way that you talk to yourself, you probably wouldn't have friends anymore.
Yes.
Right? That's how harsh we can be on ourselves without even realizing it.
Yes. And I think the first step that I did to love myself, and I teach people to love themselves, is to stop the self-criticism, because we can be very harsh. Yeah. And it doesn't help.
It's very unproductive.
Well, I think it's interesting, as you say, you find yourself all of a sudden saying something that your mom or dad would have said, and it's just horrifying, right? And you think, oh my gosh.
We don't know what we don't know, though, right? I mean, it's just...
Right. Yeah.
And it's not to blame them. They learned that somewhere, but we want to maybe do something different.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us about, do you have a program or a course coming up that parents who are listening today could be a part of?
So I'm preparing a program called No More Arguments, to stop arguing, the constant arguments with our teenagers, because I have moms who, even before talking to their teenager, they're already anticipating the conflict and the argument, and they don't even feel like going there. Like they go home, they're like, oh my God, I know what's going to happen. So I'm preparing a program for that. And I have a freebie on my website, which is a tapping session to start being able to stay calm instead of arguing, to initiate that change in your brain and in your nervous system. And there will be many other aspects to it, reviewing our own beliefs as parents about our life, about ourselves, about what we believe about the world, and believe about our teens, and about their beliefs, because we assume they come at us with that because they think ABC. That's usually not the case. That's just our projection on them. So we're going to work on that too. And we're going to work on practicing, because I do meditations to connect with the universe. I do meditations about gratitude. I do meditations. I cultivate that relationship like I would cultivate a relationship with a friend, almost on a daily basis, to say thank you for all the help that I don't even see that is behind the curtains, all the synchronicities that happen, all the things that I didn't do that were given to me as a gift. I cultivate that relationship. I believe I have an invisible team or tribe that's helping me. And I do meditations by myself or with moms about connecting with your ancestors to get an answer. Sometimes when you don't know your grandma, your great grandma or grandpa, who can give you something, a symbol. And it's funny how I have people who are very rational and they don't think that they would get anything, but suddenly they say, oh my God, they gave me this, and to me that means that, I know. And
It's magic, right? It's magic.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
And it's so that's going to be in it too. And that's something that I love doing, because you never know what be given.
So it sounds like, and you also work with people one-on-one as a coach, right?
Yes, I work one-on-one as a coach. Yeah. With a lot of tapping too, meditations and exercises. Yes.
Yeah, that's so great. So tell everybody how to get in touch with you. What's your website where they could find all this?
Co-parentingwiththeuniverse.com.
Co-parentingwiththeuniverse.com. There you go.
We have a link.
Everything is there, the YouTube channel, the podcast, everything. Because I have tapping sessions on my YouTube channel on various topics.
You can go to www.lifemasteryradio.com and go to today's show page. That link is right there and it will take you there. And while you're there, you can sign up for our newsletter too. It's a really cool newsletter that goes out once a week. Murielle, we are just about out of time. Thank you so much for showing up as you. Do you have one last thought for our listeners that will entice them to maybe think about your thoughts and ideas, or go to your website, or at least explore tapping? Tapping has a huge potential to cure things.
Tapping, you can use it with any source, like spiritual, anything you want. I just want to tell people, remember, you're not alone. You're not alone, because I struggled alone. It was very painful. You're never alone, especially with communities like yours, mine, and the higher power, the universe. And also, whatever happens to you, you have what it takes. Even if you don't know how yet, you do have what it takes. It will come step by step. Trust.
You know, a thought came to me is, when you're thinking that you're not alone, right? And your problems aren't specific to only you, right? Many people have gone before you, but that's a thought as humans that we have. It's just, oh, I'm special and these are my own little problems and I just got to deal with them, right?
Yeah, it makes things harder. Makes us feeling more isolated.
Yeah, and with parenting being the most important job you will ever do, right? It's easy to feel like you are alone in it if you don't reach out to other parents and get help. And there's no failure in that. There's actually strength in doing that, right?
And friends.
And
Don't forget
friends.
about friends.
Yep.
Yeah, and nobody has it perfect. That's a myth. Nobody knows everything. That's a myth.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, ladies. Really cool show. Jackie, any takeaways? You got a big smile on your face. You must have.
Lots of takeaways. Yeah, I'm a parent and a grandparent, so I've been through all of that, the guilt and the.
Then there got a T-shirt and.
That's right. That's right. But it's different. We are in this strange time now where kids are being raised with devices and less with parents, and so there's a dilemma out there. We need to figure out, how do we still influence our kids in positive ways. And just like Murielle says, we have to be sure about who we are. We have to love ourselves and accept ourselves first, and then everything with our children will follow.
Nice. You were paying attention to the show today, weren't you?
I'm an A student.
Thanks again, Murielle. Thank you for tuning in. That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. My biggest hope is you'll tell a friend about the show and you'll go and check out more shows on our YouTube channel. We are on YouTube, Life Mastery Radio with Todd and Jackie. Lastly, please, please, please make it a great day, because it's all about choice. And you can tap too. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio. Join Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery through stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Visit their website, www.lifemasteryradio.com. Join their mailing list and be notified about upcoming guests. That's lifemasteryradio.com.